So, welcome to week 4 of the Winter Wellness Plan with Jack and Rob. Hi, Jack Green. How are you today?
Yeah, good, thank you, Rob. Pretty just standard week, but all good. How about you?
Yeah, feeling good today. Good form. 7 out of 10, as you can see. I think I took a dip of form at the weekend, just because feeling really tired, lots of pressure, but managed to practice a bit of self care and kind of back on good form today. So, yeah, delighted to be here with you as ever, my friend.
Yeah, it's always fun at the moment. These are the highlights of my week, and hopefully that's the same for everyone at home as
Yeah,
well.
definitely. So we're now into week 4, which is consume, the theme of consume, and specifically around the nutrition, about what we're putting into our bodies. And you know, this is around both physical and mental health. But I think really, kind of nutrition, we know about what's good for our physical health, don't we? Typically, in terms of not eating too much sugar and watching your cholesterol and having a cholesterol, having a balanced diet. So, I guess as an athlete, Jack, you had to really be very mindful of your nutrition when you were training and competing.
Yeah, nutrition becomes such a big thing because it's your fuel. It's how you're able to do what you need to do in a day and perform how you need to perform. And then there's a big thing in sport around weight, which, has its negative effects, but that's part of some sports. So you have to be quite careful. But for me, I very much focused on timings was a huge thing in my world rather than actually what I was eating, because I was always reasonably good, reasonably balanced. But for me, it was timings. If I've got a session at whatever time, when am I eating before it? Have I got enough fuel to get me through? So the sad thing about that when you go into sport or you're really obsessed with your nutrition is you lose a bit of the enjoyment and that joy that you can get from food because we all know how much food can really help our well-being and help our happiness.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And I think the sort of timing and fueling is really interesting about the brain as well, and we'll come on to that. But what did you have for breakfast today, Jack Green? What did Jack Green, elite athlete, have for his breakfast today?
Firstly, former elite athlete, and my I treated myself and had some crunchy nuts, rather than spending the last 10 plus years of my life always having 2 eggs, 2 slices of toast, a banana, some yogurt, and always doing the same thing, and even being like, how much sauce am I allowed with this? Now I'm going, I'll have crunchy nut, and I'm going to have full fat milk, so I'm enjoying myself.
Good.
What about you, Rob?
So I tend to I tend to have one of those kefir yogurt drinks that have got the good bacteria in, and I don't have a huge breakfast unless I'm going to do a long bike ride where I'd have some porridge. But today I was laughing at myself because I had a latte with oat milk, which is a very middle class drink to consume, and one of these kefir with good bacteria. But did you know that some people refer to the gut as a second brain because it's got neurons in there? So there are actually neurons in our gut that help with the whole sort of communication and digestion. So having that balanced good bacteria in the gut is super important. So I think, yeah, for me this seems to help, in terms of not being bloated and yeah, balancing good energy levels, etc. So yeah, it was a kefir yogurt drink for me. But go on.
It's so interesting, I think, in terms of how gut health can help our mental health, because a lot of us won't put that together. And something I find really interesting is if I'm struggling with my mental health, I crave sugar more and more and more.
Yeah.
It's always my cue as to I can see it's happening, which is really interesting, because sugar also doesn't help with my anxiety at times. So really interesting that I crave it when I'm not feeling great.
Yeah, and I guess we talk a lot about self-awareness, that being a cue for you to think, what's going on here? It's a nutritional cue, so that's very interesting, isn't it? And Jack, we've got a friend of yours who's going to give our expert post this week, on sort of educating ourselves more about the benefits of nutrition and how to stay well. Tell us about our guest this week, Jack.
Yeah, so Emma Storey-Gordon, I've known her through athletics and then through the nutrition personal training world, and she's absolutely fantastic. The knowledge she has is just incredible. The things she knows, I don't know, and I'm reasonably good at this kind of thing. And I coach people and like to think I can help people with nutrition, but she is just something else. The things she knows, I don't know where she gets it from. But what I love about her most, and why I wanted her to be a part of this, is she's really human.
Yeah.
She isn't that kind of. I work with nutritionists and people in those fields who are very much, this is what you should have, this is what a textbook says or says you must do. Whereas she's very much, you are a human being. And the best people I've worked with, I'm really lucky to have worked with some fantastic nutritionists, and they understand that well-being part of it rather than the book says this, because we're not books, we're human beings.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for everyone on this wellness journey with us, that's really important. And I think actually people may not have expected you to say you had a bowl of crunchy nut cornflakes this morning. They might have thought you'd be sort of porridge or something really super healthy. And the message here is, look, we can make great gains if we look after our nutrition, but we are human. And yeah, I think having treats and allowing ourselves to be human, and trying to do the good things for 80% of the time and then letting things slide for 20% of the time is probably a good yardstick, isn't it?
Yeah, I've always used that. Even when I was competing, it's a case of, one thing isn't going to decide whether I was going to win the Olympics or not, if I had one chocolate bar or so on. But also, there's the well-being side. If I really enjoy that thing and it puts me in a better place in my head, then it allows me to perform. When you really think, well, the negative side of one bar of chocolate, or whatever it might be, whatever your vice is as such, it's not that big a deal. Now, if you're doing it all the time, yeah, you're going to get a problem.
Yeah.
But that's the same in everything we do. It's about consistency. If I consistently do something, that's what I'm going to be, or what the result will be. So, as you said, that 80-20, finding that balance and still realizing human being, well-being is important. If you need to give yourself that little bit of joy, then do it.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to hear from Emma that will give us sort of deep dive into all of these issues, but we're here to sort of inspire you today and give you a bit of an overview. So the brain is very much an organ like other organs in the body, and it's a really complicated one. And I'm going to put a couple of TED Talks in the show notes for this session. But the predominant makeup of the brain is fat. Actually, if you take away all of the water, which is and strip it down to its material, it's fat. And actually, what's really important to be making sure is in our diet are the essential fatty acids of omega-3 and omega-6. And we have to get those from our diet. So they're linked to preventing degenerative brain disease and other conditions. We get them from things like nuts and seeds and oily fish. So it's important to bring those into your diet. And then avoiding trans and saturated fats. That's really important. And I guess that's really important for our physical health as well, isn't it, Jack?
Yeah, hugely so. I'm obviously always coming from the performance side of things. So we were always looking at what are these things that we really need that can really push us forward. And, we'd do it in supplement form, but there is no reason why you can't get everything you need in your nutrition, in your normal nutrition, your normal food. I think it's so important. It's something I wish I'd done a bit more during my career. I was always quite lazy because I was one of those lucky ones that could almost get away with not doing too much regarding my nutrition. But actually, it's so important. And now that we know about the mental health side of things and the well-being, why wouldn't we invest in this and look after ourselves? Especially now, anxiety in this world with so many people, but look at the nutrition that we're putting out there and what's available, and it's all full of sugar. I lived in America for a while and couldn't believe how there was sugar in absolutely everything. There'd be a vegetable and it would have sugar sprinkled on top.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And look, sugar is a type of carbohydrate. There are three types of carbohydrate, which is starch, sugar, and fiber. I think the big thing here is looking at the kind of glycemic index, or the rate of which glucose is released into the body. And so something like a white bread gets converted to glucose really quickly and you'll get those spikes. But this is not good for the brain. So that kind of post-lunch food hit where you feel really lethargic, that's all to do with the blood sugar levels. Whereas something like oats, that's got a more of a slower release into the body. So we kind of want that gradual availability of our energy. But again, another interesting fact for you, Jack, I don't know if you know this, the brain takes up about 2% of the body's weight or mass, yet it uses 20% of the energy resources. which when I read about this, I was kind of staggered, because you expect the muscles to take it all and the heart, because it's pumping all the time, but our brain uses a huge amount of energy, and I think fueling it with balanced nutrition is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe my brain doesn't get to 20%. Who knows? Depends on the day, I think. But as you said, look, this is so important in terms of what do you need to do in a day? What are the challenges, the physical challenges, mental challenges that you need to do, and how are you fueling towards that? And I know I talk about fuel a lot, but it's just the world that I've come from, and kind of work. If I need to do something that's strenuous, then guess what? I need more. Think of yourself as like a car, right? If you want to be a sports car, I want to be a Ferrari. Of course, I'd love to be a Ferrari. I like to think of myself as one. And I was trying to get to A to B, then guess what? I've got to put petrol in it. I can't expect it to go. And it was something I got taught really early as a kid. I remember I used to go at school, I'd rather play football at lunch than have my lunch, and then go to training in the evening, and then I wouldn't have the energy. And my coach was saying, well, how can you know, if you look at your parents' car, they wouldn't get you to training if they didn't fill it up with fuel. So how do you expect your body to do the same thing? So I love that. It's such a simple way to understand it.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good way of thinking of it. So a balanced diet, lots of nutrients, lots of a range of vegetables that give us the nutrients we need. And I think there are some supplements that are worth looking at this time of year, particularly around kind of the winter time when we're not getting as much daylight. So vitamin D, which we get from sunlight normally. We're not getting that as much as we would in the summer, so that's a sensible supplement. Again, the omegas that I mentioned, if you're not eating that naturally, worth supplementation. And a good vitamin B complex, again, is good for energy right now. But I'm sure we're going to hear much more knowledgeable and detailed thoughts from Emma later in the week's program. One other question I had for you, Jack, and I think it's an important one for both you and I to consider, is do you find there are certain food types that are really good for creating a wonderful hairstyle?
Oh yes, the amount of supplements I'm on, but I'm not telling you because you'll try and steal my secrets. Yeah, all those hair and hair and nail supplements on the go. Yeah, you're not finding out. It's the only thing I've got, Rob. That's the only reason I'm here. So I can't give you that.
I can keep trying. And talking of hair, I can see that you're sort of cultivating what looks to be the remnants of the starting point of a handlebar moustache. Now, being we're recording this in November, I take it you're on the Movember journey. Would that be right?
The fact that you're the first person that's realised I'm doing this journey shows how little I have. I'm not quite as impressive as you. I definitely need the dark hair. So you might lose on the hair on top of your head, but you're definitely winning on the face. But yeah, it's my first attempt at growing something, and it's not very successful.
Well, it's we're getting there. Well, actually, I mean, looking at the clock, we're midway through November, so maybe you're going to have a late spurt for the rest of the month. But it'd be good to see that evolve. So, look, everyone, this is a meant to be a short inspirational session from us to think about just focusing on your nutrition this week, and think about just trying to get a balance for 80% of the time. Allow yourself some treats for 20% of the time. But think about what we're putting into our bodies is good for our brain as well as being good for our physical health as well. Let's keep it going. And everyone, thanks for being on the journey with us. And stay well this week, stay balanced, and then enjoy what you're putting into your body. Thank you so much.